massively. We have introduced certain measures in order to both enable our diaspora to come in large numbers, but at the same time to protect the public health of everyone. During this year, we have been very active in tackling corruption and organized crime. There has been around 500 police operations with around 900 raids, and 41 criminal groups have been destroyed. Government of Republic of Kosovo remains fully engaged in the future dialogue between Kosovo and Serbia in good faith and in the spirit of strong commitment to achieve a legally binding agreement centered on mutual recognition, aiming to reach full normalization of relations between our countries. I would like to emphasize the issue of increase in tax revenues in Kosovo without changing fiscal policy. You know, when people are hopeful, they spend rather than save. When people are afraid, they have this tendency of saving rather than spending. People in Kosovo are hopeful this year more than ever because of the institutional stability coming out of elections of 14th of February. And at the same time, when people see that there is no corruption in the government, they are way more ready to pay taxes and contribute for the general well-being for the society. Likewise, the tax administration has increased its discipline. So I believe that fighting corruption within the institutions and in the society, having investments from abroad which have been increasing. Actually, the year 2021 is the year with highest foreign direct investments in Kosovo in the first 6 months in comparison with any other year since we declared independence. And it's like 89% higher than the average of the last decade, 2010-2020. So with fighting corruption on one hand, with economic investments on the other, with the recovery package which amounted to 420 million euros in order to help workers and unemployed alike, women and youth in particular, we march hopefully towards 2022, where we do see EU as indispensable partner, something that we both need and like.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Commissioner.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the fourth meeting of the Stabilization and Association Council with Kosovo, and it was a very timely opportunity to, first of all, review and assess the work that has been done, also to reflect on the latest developments both in Kosovo and in the broader region of the Western Balkans, and to look ahead what needs doing and where progress needs to be delivered in the future. The first topic I would mention is the regional cooperation and the Belgrade-Pristina dialogue that we have discussed extensively. And we need to move up a gear so that the region as a whole can benefit from the significant investment opportunities provided by the economic and investment plan designed for the Western Balkans. As you know, the plan applies to the Western Balkans the exact same growth strategy that was put in place for the EU member states themselves, and mirrors our policy priorities in areas such as sustainable transport, energy, digital, the green transition, sustainable growth and jobs. During our discussions today, I encouraged Kosovo to seize fully the opportunities offered by the economic and investment plan. In particular, this means stepping up the technical preparations for the identified flagship initiatives so that the investments on connectivity, energy efficiency and clean air can go hand in hand swiftly. the start of works on the Niš-Pristina highway, the so-called Peace Highway, on the Serbian section Niš-Pločnik, last week has shown that the economic and investment plan is already alive and kicking, and it is in action. Today we also discussed the importance for Kosovo to implement the green agenda for the Western Balkans, including by increasing its commitment to decarbonization. Kosovo should be part of our ambition for a sustainable green transition in Europe. Our meeting focused as well on the common regional market, which is the key for a successful implementation of the economic and investment plan. There is very little sense building new roads, improved railways, or training workers with new skills if technical and administrative barriers, long customs checks, technical obstacles to trade and people are still in place. Recent events have shown the need for practical solutions to ensure the continuous smooth functioning of regional bodies and to advance the technical work for building the common regional market. Kosovo should be part of the regional economic integration. This is the interest of Kosovo and its people and its businesses. Today's Council meeting was also an opportunity to reflect on the main findings of our 2021 enlargement package. Our latest report on Kosovo recognized the positive trend, Kosovo's renewed commitment to EU-related reforms. We do hope to see commitment translated into tangible results swiftly. As you know, the Commission, as always, stands by to support Kosovo in this process and to ensure that all the reforms initiated are fully in line with the EU and international standards and that these are provided for the benefit of the population of Kosovo. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's take a few questions. I see Giracina, please. Use the microphone. It's just in the middle, in the aisle. Yes, please.
Mr. Borrell, you announced after November's FAC that there will be a new round of high-level dialogue during December, and it's already December the 7th. And is there any confirmation that this meeting will happen? And to Prime Minister Kurti, would you be willing to come if and when you get invited for another round of talks with your Belgrade counterpart? Thank you.
I answer the question. Well, you know, we always organize and announce the high-level meeting or the dialogue when appropriated and on due time. We haven't announced it yet. We have made very clear after the two meetings this year that the precondition for the next one is the readiness of both parties to agree on concrete results. It will be completely useless to call for another meeting if we can perceive that these conditions are not met and to meet again for nothing. My recent outreach and the shuttle diplomacy by the EU Special Representative, Lajak, to whom I have to thank his tireless work, have shown that, to my understanding, there is no such readiness at this point. But the year is still not over, and we will continue doing everything we can to try to have such a meeting if we can ensure that there's going to be some outcome. We cannot force the partners, if they lack the readiness, to engage constructively, but they have to manage our agenda, our political energies, depending on the foreseen output.
Of course, that since I am in politics, I've been coming to Brussels dozens of times, sometimes with invitations, sometimes without one. But for us, Brussels is important capital of progress, but at the same time of solving disputes. For our government, which is the most democratic and pro-European government since liberation of Kosovo, European Union is the most important project of peace and prosperity in the world since World War II. If mediator, facilitator, His Excellency Mr. Borrell, High Representative and Vice President of the European Commission, sees it as reasonable and appropriate to invite me for a meeting, of course I will come. But now I would like to emphasize a success which has been neglected by European Union, achieved by European Union and neglected by others, and that is agreement of 30th of September, which was done by the office of Mr. Borrell here in Brussels between Kosovo and Serbia for car plates. Tensions were very high, and now we are 100% implementing an agreement which has been achieved here. It was a compromise from our side. We would have loved not to have stickers at all in these car plates, but since there was insistence, now over our symbols for our vehicles when they go to Serbia, there is a sticker covering them, and the other way around, vehicles which come from Serbia to Kosovo, they have a sticker over state symbols. So that was a tangible result, an achievement of Brussels, and whereas there are many agreements which perhaps had much more publicity and little implementation, this one had little publicity and full implementation.
Thank you. Let's go to the next question. Marina.
Marina Maksimovic, Tanjug News Agency, Serbia. Mr. Borrell, you said that it is crucial for Kosovo to be constructive in this dialogue with Belgrade. Did you speak concretely today about the constructiveness of Mr. Kurti regarding the implementation of the obligation of Kosovo regarding the association of Serbian communities and this dialogue? And Mr. Kurti, do you feel responsible personally when Mr. Borrell says that there is no evidence of the constructiveness for the dialogue to be continued? And do you have idea to implement these obligations from the Brussels agreement regarding the Serbian communities? Thank you.
Well, on the association community of Serb majority municipalities, what I have to say is what I already said during this meeting several times and before this meeting, that establishing an association community of Serb majority municipalities is part of the Brussels Agreement. This agreement was concluded in good faith by all parties involved, and we expect all agreements to be respected and fully implemented by both parties, because addressing the needs of the Serb community is an important element of the full normalization process. With these same words, I've been addressing this issue today to Prime Minister Kurti. It's part of the agreement that has to be implemented and is part of addressing any way to the future agreements for normalization of relations.
There are 33 agreements between Kosovo and Serbia, and 2/3 of them have not been implemented by Serbia, but always Belgrade, official Belgrade, likes to mention one agreement, which I must say did not pass the test of our Constitutional Court. I remember back then on 23rd of December 2015, when the decision of Constitutional Court was made public, no Serb of Kosovo protested, only Belgrade. I believe that it is time to have a dialogue where people, citizens, are the end beneficiaries, not politicians. So we need democratic character of dialogue. That means that people will benefit from it. And I reiterate that on late December 2015, Serbs of Kosovo didn't mind much about the decision of Constitutional Court. It was Belgrade which was lamenting about what has happened. So all these solutions which come from above in order to please certain politicians are not democratic. I am a Democrat. That's why I believe that future chapters of dialogue between Kosovo and Serbia should not be there to please a politician, to save the skin of that politician or the face of another politician, but to help and serve people. We should be at the service of people, and I'm afraid that this association of Serb majority municipalities is rather the service of Belgrade than of ordinary, poor Serbian citizens in Kosovo, to whom I serve also as Prime Minister of our Republic.
Thank you, High Representative.
Yes, allow me to say that I am a Democrat also. And I am not here to serve to any politician from any side. What has happening with the car plates has shown, and it should be an example, that the dialogue is the only forum to address and resolve all open issues. And I would like you to recognize fully the importance of this dialogue in order to overcome the difficulties for Kosovo to integrate the international community fully. I disagree with you on the fact that it's the Constitutional Court who avoids obstacles, makes impossible the implementation of this agreement, which was done by the representative governments of two parties, acting in good faith and according with international norms to establish agreements in the framework of the dialogue. So I'm sorry, Prime Minister, we have to continue asking for the implementation of this agreement. I know that there are other agreements pending. I know that in both parts there are agreements which has not been implemented, but this is a very important one.
Thank you. We take one last question. Augustin, if you can go over to the microphone, I think on your left it's closer.
Thank you, Augustin Paliokai from KOHA. I have two questions, one for Commissioner Varheyli. It is related about the reforms that you always ask of judiciary, rule of law, fight against corruption, etc. There is a misunderstanding whether European Union supports or does not support the idea of vetting of judges and prosecutors. So can you explain, are you against this idea or you have some objections, specific objections about that in case of Kosovo? And the questions about the dialogue, I cannot avoid this. Okay, there was agreement about temporary agreement about the car plates, which is good. But you, Mr. Borrell, when you came, you used to say that the final agreement, it might be issue of months, not years. So will the dialogue aim to achieve final agreement? Will this include recognition, or you will continue to deal with particular problems that might arise from time to time on the ground? Thank you.
Commissioner, you can start.
Well, we discussed this topic, the vetting, extensively this morning with the Prime Minister, because I think that the first is that we should understand what is meant under vetting by the government of Kosovo. And what I understand is that if I look at it on substance, is to have clear, objective criteria for the judiciary, all branches of it, when it comes to conflicts of interest, so private related matters, and also when it comes to the institutional matters of independence. And therefore, we are engaging in talks with our partners in Pristina about this. And we made it very clear that we are in for a judiciary that is independent and that is effectively delivering justice to the people. You know that we have been investing a lot, politically and also financially, to create a judicial system that stands up to the values that the European Union represent, and we continue to do so. So therefore, we're engaging now with the government of Kosovo to see how such a process, as they call vetting, would contribute to that. We don't think that there's a need of a complete overhaul of the judicial system. So if you ask me, and if you take the example of Albania, I don't think that such a large operation is necessary, because I think that the foundations, the basics of the system are according to our standards. But of course, we are ready to sit down and see whether there are improvements to be made and which can be made. And therefore, we showed openness to the Prime Minister today to sit down and discuss this topic with them. Thank you.
Yes, this topic and all topics, we are here to discuss, we are here to strengthen our relationship, we are here to see how we can advance on the dialogue. The purpose of the dialogue is to reach a comprehensive legal agreement about normalization of relationship between Kosovo and Serbia. What does it mean is to the parts to decide, not to me. I am a facilitator. I am trying to make people agreeing. Agreeing on what? On normalization of relationship. Without normalization of relationship between Serbia and Kosovo, it's not going to be a clear path to the European Union. What it's about, which is the essence, it is up to the parts to decide. I cannot say which has to be the final outcome. If I would be saying such a thing, it would be part of the game. I am not part of the game. I am just trying to push you to sit and to discuss and to look for a solution. And that's what I am trying to do, to encourage both parts to continue the discussion. When I said it's a matter of months, not years, it's because it has been lasting how many years? Too many, no? So if there is goodwill, the problem can be solved tomorrow, equally than 3 years from now. And I don't think the Kosovo people and the Balkans as a whole can wait for normalization in years. It's going to be a big obstacle to the future of these countries on the way to Europe. Sorry, I have to fly.
Thank you very much, everyone. Faleminderit, Prime Minister, Commissioner, colleagues, to the interpreters, big thank you. Have a nice afternoon. See you soon. Bye.